Good evening, Facebook and YouTube. JDev has returned once again to give you exactly what you want, and of course, that would be more of me giving my thoughts, my opinions, and of course, my expert analysis on a certain topic subject. Tonight, what I'm going to be covering are my thoughts on which Major League Baseball teams have done the best since the trade deadline has ended, and we're almost to the point where the waiver wire deals will end, and you can't add anybody into your postseason roster after September 1st. So yeah, just gonna give you my thoughts on which teams I think have done the best jobs, and I'm not going to be covering all 30 Major League Baseball teams. So I'm just going to give my thoughts on a few that I think have done a really good job. So without further ado, here we go. So honorable mention, I would have to say, would be the Atlanta Braves. I mean, they needed a bat for their lineup, you thought, but they instead acquired a starting pitcher that has a couple more years of control. And of course, that would be Kevin Gossman from the Baltimore Orioles, which I think could be another Jake Arrieta situation where he's terrible with Baltimore, comes to another team, and it's a Cy Young because he's looking mighty good with Atlanta. So that's a key acquisition as well as their in that trade they got Darren O'Day as well. He's pretty good. They could use another move, and they still have a few more days to go. So that's the Atlanta Braves. I think a team that's done a lot to improve some holes that they had would be the New York Yankees. You add a dynamic relief pitcher to an already dynamic relief pitching bullpen with Zach Britton, although he hasn't looked as sharp this year yet, but give him time. He's coming off of an injury. He's a little rusty. So that's a key move. They shored up their starting rotation with the acquisition, I can't talk tonight, of J.A. Happ, which I think is really critical, and especially right now with all the Yankees that are on the disabled list, they really could use another bat. And I suspect that the Yankees will get Andrew McCutchen because I think Aaron Judge will be out for at least another 2 to 3 weeks at least, and I think they need more depth on their team. So I could see that happening. Another team that I think has done really good would be the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, getting Manny Machado when Corey Seager, is out for the season, that's huge. And then getting Brian Dozier to make your second base position, more of a threat in the lineup. I haven't checked to see how Dozier's doing with the Dodgers, though, so I haven't heard anything about him, so he must not be doing well. I think they're a starting pitcher. They really need a starting pitcher right now. And they need to shore up their bullpen because it's not as strong as it was last year with the loss of Brandon Morrow, who really did a good job for them last year. So the Dodgers have done good. And in my opinion, and this may be a little biased, but I think the Chicago Cubs have had the best acquisitions thus far. I mean, they added guys to the bullpen with Brandon Kisner, with Jesse Chavez, with Jorge De La Rosa. They could still add more. They added a piece to their starting rotation in Cole Hamels, who's been arguably the best acquisition thus far. And then you get Daniel Murphy just out of the blue. I mean, that's a huge acquisition. Do you know how dominant Daniel Murphy's been in the playoffs? Now, he might not be as dominant, come this year, but he's a good ball player, and they got him for next to nothing. The Cubs got all these guys for next to nothing at all. Now, I think the Cubs would be wise to try to get another backup catcher that can hit a little bit if they can, and maybe even another arm for that bullpen. As Jose Quintana's been kind of shaky, and Lester and Hamill seem to be the only good ones. Hendricks is okay, but then he has those outings where he gives up 4 or 5 runs, and people just hit his fastball all over the place because it's only like 93 miles an hour or 92 miles an hour. So they still got some work to do, but I think on paper right now they're good. Now their bullpen, I don't know how long Brandon Morrow is going to be out. It's possible he might miss the rest of the season because he hasn't even started a throwing program yet, really. So it's tough to tell. But I think right now how they look is great because they still have a deep bullpen. They still have a great deep lineup. I mean, they have a lot of good bench guys, too, like the Dodgers. So I think the Cubs have done themselves a really good job with the additions of Cole Hamels and Daniel Murphy, and then all the relief guys that they got. And I think there's one more move that they're going to make. Just a hunch. Just a hunch. So there's kind of my thoughts. Now let's talk about some teams that need to do something. So you have the Milwaukee Brewers, and I know a lot of you are Brewer fans. What have they really done? They needed starting pitching bad. And they keep acquiring bats. They did not need Mike Moustakas, and they acquired Mike Moustakas. Didn't make any sense to me really at all, but whatever. And then they get Jonathan Schoop from Baltimore, another deal that doesn't make any sense to me. The Brewers need a starting pitcher. If they bring on Matt Harvey, that's a loss for them because Matt Harvey hasn't even been that great this year. He had like a couple good starts, but against a couple lineups that swing and miss all the time. And I think one of them was the Chicago Cubs, actually. But hey, they are inclined to have a bad game every now and then. So, yeah, I hope the Brewers do something because I want to see them make the playoffs. It's good for the state of Wisconsin and the city of Milwaukee. It'll give somebody or all you people less to bitch about besides Scott Walker. You do that all the time. But, yeah, Cubs have had a great season with a great general manager and president, Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer. They made the moves that they need to do to, in my opinion, win the World Series here in 2018. So that's what I think. Please give your thoughts on this, and I would definitely appreciate that. Have a good night. Later.